when we talk about analysis of learning and learner, I think there's a connection between online learning and a connection between the assessment part also. So these two go, actually, it's not just the learning that is there. We are assessing the learner, what, trying to understand their profile and accordingly actually uh, provide the outcomes that are to be prepared, in fact. Uh, but what happens generally, our tendency is to provide a journalistic content. I think it's very important we look into the learner, analysis of the learner, very important, because then actually we can talk about personalization. And a lot of AI tools are already available, and we have started talking about analytics. Learner analytics is one area. Big data in education is an important, actually, and many platforms are coming embedded with these tools available. What is happening is we are not actually utilizing the way we should be, and it's important for us to understand what is learner analytics and how best we can use it, so that we can create our content which are engaging, and actually the outcome that we have designed for a complete program that is there, we are able to achieve that. So basically, so here two terms are there: learner analysis and learning analysis. So if we talk about a learner analysis, basically it is about understanding the general characteristics of a learner. So when we talk about a general characteristics, what is it? It's the profile of the learner, the background they are coming from, the kind of education they have had. So actually, we need to capture those details also if we talk about learner analysis. And another important thing is to understand their competencies. So what kind of education they have gone up. And in fact, whenever we offer a course, we say that these are the basic competencies required, especially in the higher education. We say that these are the competencies required if you are joining a particular courses. Now, if you talk about MOOCs, generally the courses are open, but at times if you go for certification or etc., you need some kind of a competencies available. Anyone just cannot register and complete the courses. Competencies are very much required. So we need to capture that detail also. What are their competencies? Then comes the learning style, how they are learning. Very interesting. So when we do about the learner analysis, we need to understand also that what platform they will be using, what kind of a media they will be preferring, whether they want to use mobile for learning or they will be doing on their PCs, and how actually they prefer, what timing suit them, and all such things actually you need to understand. So these are three major things that comprise of learning analysis that we talk about. Now, coming about the learner analysis, another important thing is that we should have a clear understanding of the learner and deciding in advance what they will and can do. So learning analysis is not just understanding and capturing the data. See, when we ask for anyone to register, we do a lot of capturing of data. I think we need to decide also what, when we are creating our forms for admission or for registration, we need to capture certain important aspects so that we can decide based on the profiling that happens with the admission data, can be used for the purpose of understanding and predicting actually from beforehand, that what they will and can do, in fact. So what will be their learning style, what will be their learning path, and all those things need to be learned. So we have to be very careful actually how we design even our registration form. So this is something important. Now, there is a very important concept. We talk about data analytics in education. So if we talk about data analytics, we have two components. It's the learning analytics is part of a data analytics in education. The other part is the academic analytics. Now, academic analytics is more administrative, where it actually for the administrators to decide, and it could be at the institutional level, regional level, or a national, international level. So it could be a institution like a university like IGNOU deciding based on knowledge flow and resource allocations and all those things. So decide on that, and this basically will be used by the administrators, funders, and all those things. Talking about regional level, like what we need to understand the learner profile, what kind of students are there, what is the quality and standard of the learners. So those things, that's again needed by the funders and administrators. And at the national level, just government, and also in the international level also. So we have agencies, different agencies, they need data to understand actually the student, standards of the learners and all those things, to take decisions for future. But basically what we will be concentrating is more towards learning analytics. And these two categorization has been given by George Simmons, in fact. And when he talks about learning analytics, he categorizes it into personal level analytics, course level analytics, and departmental level analytics. So when we talk about personal analytics, basically it's analytics on personal performance in relation to the learning goals. So generally, actually, we design our curriculum in a manner that to reach out some learning goals, in fact. So basically, that is from the personal level. Course level is the complete course, how it will do, how you can actually relate with different platforms, social media, networking people, how you present your things. So how you can actually make intelligent curriculum. Departments actually require learning analytics to make a decision on or preparing predictive models for different patterns of success or failure, how many dropouts will be there, and all those things you need to understand. So basically, if we talk about the personal and course level, this is basically the educators, learners, and teaching staff who will be concerned with. They are the ones who will be interested. From the learner point of view, it will be the learner dashboard that reflects how they are performing. In the case of educators, they get to know how their class, the learners that are enrolled, they are performing, what are the problems that are there. And so those things can be taken care of. At the department level, again, the predictive modeling and all this could be useful for the learners as well as the educators, in fact. So this is basically talking about the data analytics in education, and we will be mainly concentrating on the learning analytics. Now let us understand what is basically learner analytics. So we just go into the definition to get a clear idea about what it is. Learning analytics is the measurement, collection, analysis, and reporting of data about learners and their context. See, the most important thing is about the learners and their context. In the context, what context? The context of learning that they are going in for purposes of understanding and optimizing learning and the environment in which it's occurring actually. So this is used for the purpose of how you design your whole course. So that's and the kind of learning environment that you will be providing for your learners. Further, in fact, software algorithms used to predict or detect unknown aspects of the learning process based on historic data and current behavior. So basically, this is coming from Moodle. In fact, you find this definition there. Basically, and if you look into, I will show you also how Moodle captures the data and how it presents. Basically, the Moodle design has it and the software algorithms provide it, which can help you detect a lot of unknown aspects. What could be the unknown aspects? It could be like how students are behaving, their problems that may face. Maybe someone is actually, like for instance, like what happened in the morning. Professor Mangal Sundar was giving presentation, there was a power cut and could not join in. So if some problems at the learner end is coming up, that can also be captured. And it's basically all these predictions are based on the historical data and the behavior of the learner. So how they are behaving. What do you mean by behavior here? I mean, how many times they have attempted the quiz, uh, and it actually captures even the details of mouse clicks and all, whether they have gone through the video that have been provided for a particular class, have they gone through the content reading material that have gone, and I will show you exactly this is how it is captured on Moodle. And we have experimented and it works very well, in fact, the interesting part is you can use this learning analytics for the purpose of assessment as well. And many people are doing it. So one part of your assessment, continuous assessment, can be based on the learning analytics. And this we experimented it and works out very well. We found that people have completed their term and exam, but they have, they have not gone through the material at all. So there is some marking given for the learning analytics part, that is capturing the data, whether they have really gone through the material or not. And based on that, it's actually the marking is done. So these are a lot of possibilities that are available and which you can actually capture. So how it happens, basically how you capture the data collection has to be done. If you go for a LMS or a MOOC platform, already they have in the background, most of them they may be having. Next is you have to do some kind of an analysis and do predictive modeling. Again, the platforms provide certain things, or you may need some third-party tools to be used for many people are using R to do this predictive modeling. You can use even simple SPSS thing also, so to analyze the data. And finally, based on the predictive modeling that are there, the final action that is required is you have to take action where, if once you identify the problems, once you identify where the learners are failing, what are the possibilities that you will have dropouts and all those things. If you are able to predict that, you can take some kind of a corrective measure, and that's very important. That has to be done. So basically, if you look into what are the basic common focus of learning analytics, first and foremost is retention, because we always talk about dropouts and all those things happening. And classic case is the MOOCs platform. Even in the SWAYAM, if you see, there may be 10,000, 20,000 registration happening for a particular course. And if you see the exam registration, it could be a few hundreds are going in, even not even a 1% student registering for exams. So why it is happening? So identify, it's very important that if we have to retain the learners, we have to identify the learners who are at risk of dropout and identify the momentum crisis points, where they are dropping out, why they are dropping out, what happened, what went wrong. This is very important that you have to do. Second is performance. This could be based on the term and examination that is happening, predicting how they are doing it and predicting future performance. So based on, actually, as I say, that the data gets continuously captured, and from that you can analyze who will be doing well in the examinations, what will be their future performance, who may fail. So those things can be so learning analytics can be used for the purpose of measuring the performance also. For the purpose of activity, one can actually see the quantitative views of activity, whether they are participating in it or not, if some kind of a group activity is given. So it could be that only one person is doing and others are just chipping in. So many of the workshops, even we see that people, if you do some kind of a group activity, 2 or 3 are mainly participating, others are just watching. So those things can help actually to capture whether individual people are participating or not. And exactly what the learners are doing if in the case of the activity that is being carried out. At the course level, it usually is linked to the benchmarking of performance of the the faculty who is actually offering the course. So whether even it's not just the learner that you are analyzing, you are analyzing the faculty also. So how they are performing, and you can decide who is a good teacher, who is a bad teacher, who is actually performing well, who's not performing well. That also can be done, and also it can help to a great extent in designing the learning design patterns, in fact. So you can actually predict what helps the learner, and you can actually design their learning paths as well. So basically, how you design your content, how engaging content you make, it can be based on the learning analytics that are coming in. Then the fifth one is your engagement. That's the most important part. What type of you need to capture how the learners are learning. So what exactly they are doing, and this is done through mouse clicks, the time. I mean, lots of log gets generated on a LMS, and based on that you can see how the learners are going through a course material. You may see that maybe they have a lengthy video, people are just seeing for 5 minutes, and then they're just not going through it. In fact, the platforms, most of them, they will show you whether the learner has gone through the complete video or not, or just have seen how much time they spent on the video, all those things, or they are doing fast forward or whatever it is. And this also helps in actually also identify the learner engagement that's happening. Are they going through the video in one go? They are coming back again, and also it can be linked with the performance in the quizzes and other things that are there. So it can actually generate some kind of metric that is required. Now, what are the different types of learning analytics that we have? We have descriptive analytics, like to understand what happened, whether the learners have been performing well or not, where they have gone wrong, all those things can be done. Second is predictive, what will happen next? Like you can actually capture through, and you can predict also that seeing the performance over the time that is the course is going on, that you can predict very well whether the students will be performing well or not. Third kind is the diagnostic one, where you can predict, understand where the problems are there. And fourth type is the prescriptive one, that you can actually, based on the analytics that are there, you can help in prescribing what to do and how to improve. So this is something very important. So basically, if you look into this, Gartner has given this. So what is done? First is that you are actually, if you look into this chart, one side you have the difficulty levels and the other side you have the value. And you see that descriptive analytics help you to understand what happened. Diagnostic analytics lets you know why did it happen. Predictive analysis lets you know that what will happen, and the prescriptive analysis lets you know how can we make it happen. So prescriptive is not just actually if some issues come up and then we rectify, it could be also based on the analytics. You can prescribe that how best we can do, how the content has to be more engaging and all those things. So how best you can cull out and optimize so that the way you present your courses, so that maximum gain you get out of it. So basically, if you look at it, it's also further categorized that descriptive and diagnostic is from some side of a hindsight. Diagnostic and predictive to some extent provides insight. And in fact, if you talk about prescriptive, it's more of a foresight that can be looked into. Now, what are the advantages of learning analytics? Why do we need it? Do we really need it? That's the question that we need to answer. It provides qualitative assurance, and quality improvement can be done, because if we can actually thoroughly analyze if we have gone wrong, there are problems in the course that we have delivered, then we can take some corrective measures. That's very important. Then it helps in assessing and acting upon different outcomes. Like our students, I mean, we generally tendency is to provide them journalistic content. But if we are thinking in terms of the, I mean, being more personalized content delivery, then it's very important that we assess and act on about different outcomes among the student population. I mean, and the analytics can help in monitoring the engagement and progress of subgroups of students. So we have all kinds of students, in fact, in the class. So we can identify and how best we can engage them and go in for personalization. That's very important. That can be taken care of. Then it can help in boosting retention rates. Already I talked about that. And that actually, that's why institutions would like to look into the learning analytics, how best we actually have our students continue with their learning, and we have less of dropouts that we have. So how best we can retain and how best we can go about, that's very important. Okay. So some kind of an advice and support can be provided. And the fourth is the enabler for development and introduction of adaptive learning. Now, this is something very important. And learning analytics can help us in actually designing a course in a way that we can actually promote adaptive learning. So there are many examples I have seen where actually course is done in a manner that a lot of personalization is happening. And you can have, I will show you also the, if time permits, that how it can be looked into. So it could be adapted in a manner that, I mean, based on the learning style of individual learners, the content is provided. For instance, there could be a learner who is smart enough, just going through a reading of the course content, is able to answer all the quizzes. Whereas there may be some who may not be in one go able to do, they may have to do some extra reading. So the platform itself will suggest them, it will pop up with some examples and some other things, so that they can branch out, go further, go deeper into learning, and then come back and then attempt the quiz. So this is how things can work. Siemens has actually given actually how this learning analytics can be used for the educational purposes. Basically, it helps in first analytics is done, then it does some kind of a prediction, and then it can help in adaptation of the content. It could be personalization of the content, and it could be some kind of an intervention. So extra help is required that can be put in.